Greetings, everyone. On behalf of Tariq, the History Society of Meherchand Mahajan DAV College for Women, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome the acclaimed author journalist Ms. Meru Jaffer, who will be presenting a special lecture on the topic Sufism and its mystical dimensions. Thank you so much, ma'am, for accepting our invitation. A little introduction about our college. Meherchand Mahajan DAV College for Women is located in Chandigarh. The college was founded in 1968 to honor the memory of Justice Meherchand Mahajan, the first Chief Justice of India. We celebrated our Golden Jubilee in 2018, wherein the Honorable President of India, Sri Ramnath Kovindji, also visited our institution. Our college is a postgraduate institution affiliated to the Punjab University in Chandigarh. The history students of the college have organized themselves into an association called Tariq, which organizes online lectures with scholars and activities for students from time to time. I would also like to extend our gratitude to our principal, Dr. Nisha Bhargav, for her guidance and for encouraging us in all our academic pursuits. Now I would like to call upon Dr. Mini Garewal, Associate Professor of History and Senior Faculty Member, to introduce our eminent speaker to the audience. Mini ma'am.
Thank you, Jan. On behalf of the principal, staff, and students of Meherchand Mahajan DAV College for Women, I extend a very warm welcome to Lucknow-based author and journalist, Ms. Meru Jaffer. Meru Jaffer is a renowned author of the Book of Muhammad, the Book of Muinuddin Chishti, and the Book of Nizamuddin Auliya, all published by Penguin India. Love and Life in Lucknow and A Shadow of the Past, a short biography of Lucknow, are her other noteworthy writings. Her latest book is on Urdu poets writing in Lucknow in the 19th century. Ma'am was also taught at the University of Vienna, Austria, and at the Vienna American Webster University. Ms. Jaffer's association with the print and electronic media is more than 4 decades old. She has filed extensively for the Indian media from Europe and Indonesia, including television, and has reported for the BBC. She's also made films on the fascination for Bollywood in Vienna, Austria, and a documentary film on Shah Rukh Khan fans in Europe called Mr. Khan, Vienna Loves You. Ms. Meru Jaffer will be talking to us today on Sufism and its mystical dimensions. Sufism is a topic in our syllabus prescribed by the Punjab University. However, it is a topic that generates a lot of interest and introspection, and discussions generally go beyond the formal framework. It is of interest probably because in the fast-paced material world of today, it makes us pause to reflect into matters of the soul and the very nature and essence of our beings. It is in this quest of acquiring a better understanding of Sufi mysticism that we have invited Ms. Meru Jaffer to share her valuable research and observations with us. We welcome you, ma'am, to our institution and look forward to an interesting interaction with you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mini ma'am.
you.
Thank you.
And before I invite our guest speaker, dear audience, a few cardinal rules. You're requested to ensure that your microphones are switched off during the lecture. Once the lecture is over, we will have the question answer round. So you can use the raise hand feature to directly ask your question to Meru ma'am, or you can put those questions in the chat box and we can take those up there. Now, for the moment that we've all been waiting for, I now invite Ms. Jaffer to give her lecture. Meru ma'am.
Thank you so Thank you so much. Sat Sri Akal, since Lucknow is speaking to Punjab. Adab, and a very good evening to all of you. Namaskar. So today, would Ashish like to play for 30 seconds?
Yes, ma'am.
Bonfire?
I'm playing. Yes, ma'am. I'm playing.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Just to get us into the mood of meditative mysticism, Sufism. And today we will try to understand the Sufi heart and mind through a through a popular song like the one you just heard from a Hindi film. You have just been listening to the same song. I chose this song because the Sufi and Sufism is all about people, the majority of people who are mostly left out of the riches in life, participating in the most important events of life. You know, the masses are always sidelined, and it's always a handful of people who decide the destiny of the majority. But according to the Sufi and according to Sufism, uh, their movement, their thinking is all about people and being part of a people's movement, about not excluding but including into a way of life all of humanity, at least providing an opportunity to as many people as possible, rich and poor, woman and man, to participate in yet another man-made effort to spend life together in unity, in harmony on this beautiful earth in a more joyous way than we do at the moment. Therefore, Ya Nizamuddin Aulia, in the name of Nizamuddin, one of the greatest Sufi from the Chishtiya Silsila or school of South Asia, that is Nizamuddin. That is the definition of Nizamuddin. That is who Nizamuddin was. And he is addressed as Aulia, because Aulia is derived from the word alim, or the learned one. And because Nizamuddin seemed to have so much more knowledge about life and this world than any of us, he was called Aulia. Ya Nizamuddin Sarkar is the second line in the song. And here by Sarkar, we mean the exalted one, the one who is higher in position to ordinary human beings. So, Ya Nizamuddin Aulia, Ya Nizamuddin Sarkar, Qadam Badha Le. Ya Sarkar, Ya Aulia, you learned one, you my Sarkar, apne qadam badha le. Please step forward. Hadon ko mita le. Do away with all barriers that human beings create between each other, between you and me, through a parda, through walls. We spend lots of money and we spend lots of resources in building walls between human beings, borders, man-made lines of control to keep one human being separated from another. Aja, Aja khali pan mein piya. Aja khali pan mein piya. Despite the drama of the world around me, there is emptiness inside of me. Ghar tera, that emptiness inside of me is the home, is the ghar, is the resting place of the beloved. That emptiness waits to be filled with the presence of the beloved. The emptiness is precisely the home of the beloved, the creator of the world, soulmate of every human being. Come, come. Emptiness waits for you. Come and fill up that emptiness, my beloved. So the creator of the world, the minute you say God, Bhagwan, Allah, you slot the creator of the world, the supreme consciousness, with one community. Here I want to transcend all divisions like Islam, Hinduism, Christianity. I want to Sikhism. I want to use a word that people from all communities can identify with. Therefore, I will say less Allah, God, and Bhagwan, and use the word creator of the world and supreme consciousness much more. Tere bin khali. This is, the cry of the human being, that despite being born into this beautiful world, there is this emptiness, this sadness, this sorrow. Why do human beings need to be sorrowful when they are born into this beautiful world? So, tere bin khali, aja khalipan mein, tere bin khali, aja khalipan mein, samaja rangreza. So without you, the emptiness will never be filled. Come, occupy the emptiness inside of me, Rangreza. Now, who is Rangreza? The Rangreza literally is the one who dyes cloth into different colors to make you look beautiful physically. As far as the mystic is concerned, the Rangreza is the creator of the world, and the desire is to get the Rangreza to dye the lover, the human being, in the devotee, in the same color of the creator of the world, the ultimate beloved. Now, why would any one of us, those who are created, want to be dyed in the color of the creator? Because unlike the creator, creatures like you, creatures like me are imperfect and also have an ugly side to us. The creator is imagined as ultimate perfection, flawless, without blemish, and also ultimate goodness. And why do we suspect that the beloved creator of the world is perfect, ultimate beauty, and ultimate truth? Because if creation, which we can see with our naked eye, if creation is so perfect and beautiful, then imagine, just imagine, close your eyes and imagine how perfect and beautiful the creator of all the beauty around us must be. Rangreza, therefore, Rangreza, the magician, the one who brings color into your life, Rangreza, that is why you want the Rangreza to come and fill the emptiness, the grayness, the darkness, the blackness inside of you. To repeat the point, in the physical world, there is the one who dyes cloth in the lush colors of the rainbow. In the spiritual world, a role model is imagined as one who dyes in the abstract, philosophical colors of higher values and can dye the human being in the most important of all values, which is love. The human being imagines that when this creator of the world had willed, the world was. Therefore, that is the meaning of kun faya kun. So there was the command be, like in Christianity, God said, let there be light, and there was light, and the world was born. Also, according to the Sufi, the ultimate will, the ultimate command was be, and the world came into being, or kun, faya kun. When the beloved creator of the world said be, the world was born. It became, the world became, it came into being, and creatures pulsated with life and populated the planet. That is the meaning of kun, faya kun. Be, and it became, and it is to this day. Kun, faya, kun, faya, kun, faya, kun. And you repeat this fact, this beautiful phrase, these two beautiful words, because by repetition you internalize the truth. Be, and it was. Therefore, it is, it is, it is. Kun, faya, kun, faya, kun, faya, kun. Note the tension of excitement when the words kun, faya, kun are uttered. This is because other people might take creation and all the wonders of the world for granted, but not the poet. The poet, after poet, remains only in awe of creation, of the way the world is so perfect and so beautiful. Therefore, the poet continues, जब कहीं पे कुछ भी न था, जब कहीं पे कुछ भी न था, even when there was nothing, when there was nothingness, वही था, there was that. वही था, वही था, वही था. And you say, you repeat वही था so that you internalize again this very beautiful fact and truth. There was that, there was that, there was that. Note how thought, ideas, and words are repeated. This is called chanting, japna, and by the Sufis, it's called zikr karna. Zikr karna, bar bar ek sach ko dohrana. Dohrana till it becomes embedded, till it becomes part of your existence. The idea of practicing zikr is to internalize and to make thought a part of one's being by repeating a beloved idea like the wahi tha, wahi tha, wahi tha. So that the idea begins to flow like life-supporting blood does through your veins. The value expressed in words and repeated often enough then becomes a part of your breath, part of the rationale of your very existence. Once zikr succeeds in internalizing a thought and it becomes an essential part of your being, it may make you cry out loud in ecstasy. वो जो मुझ में समाया, वो जो तुझ में समाया, वो जो मुझ में समाया, वो जो तुझ में समाया. That who has made a home in me, that who has made a home in you. Now we're using a neutral word like that because we are not sure, human beings are not sure whether the supreme consciousness is male or female. We don't know. Only a bigot will insist that the creator of the world is for sure a male or female. We just do not know. And we have to accept that fact if you want to continue to attain knowledge. Here we leave it at that. So we are calling the beloved, the creator of the world, the supreme consciousness, the fetus from which the rest of the world has blossomed. We call it that. So we don't call it he or she, but that. We leave it at that only because we don't know. And there is absolutely no point in pretending that we know anything for sure about how and why the world came into being. Not science, not philosophy is able to describe to this day the creator of the world, exactly because nobody knows. Poets refer to the supreme consciousness. They struggle to describe the supreme consciousness as a very bright, shining light that is as beautiful as the life-enforcing, blinding light of the sun. Listen to what Mir Taqi Mir, who was born in Agra, spent a good part of his adult life in Delhi and then migrated to Lucknow. So Mir Taqi Mir from the early 19th century says that even the sun, even the beautiful sun perhaps borrows a bit of light from the beloved's beauty before it is able to shine so bright. Isn't that beautiful? Tha mustar husn se uske jo noor tha, tha mustar husn se uske jo noor tha, khurshid mein bhi ushi ka zarra zuhur tha. Over millions of years, human beings have found out and know a lot about life, but there is still a lot more that we don't know about the self and about the world around us. And the more you accept that fact, that we don't know everything that is to know, the more you will be inspired to find out more about love and about life. This is how I think the mind of a mystic works. Now back to Zikr. When the idea of the creator of the world is repeated like Vahi tha, Vahi tha, Vahi tha, Vahi tha, often a Sufi will give a proper name to that Vahi or Wo. Like in this composition, I have chosen as an example of easy Sufi thought. Here the poet names the creator of the world Rangreza, like we talked about earlier. The same supreme consciousness, the same creator of the world, the same Rangreza is called by different names in different languages, in different cultures, like God, Allah, Bhagwan, and Prabhu. What we must, especially the youth of the world, especially students, must always remember that the name is different, but the supreme conscious is the one and only one. There is no need to fight with each other, because I call the supreme consciousness Allah and you may call it Bhagwan. So remember all this when you pick your battles in life. Choose your battles. There are better, more important reasons to battle over issues. But this, I think, is not over Allah and Bhagwan. Like I mentioned before, a Rangreza is one who dyes cloth in imitation of the lush colors of the rainbow to make life more colorful and attractive in the physical world. In the spiritual world, the unseen, invisible Rangreza makes spiritual life more beautiful for human beings by dyeing life in the color of higher values, and one who dyes you in the most important of all virtues, which is love. So all you young people, old people, all of us, what we need to do is to teach ourselves to love each other more. I think this is what I'm trying to say. Since the supreme consciousness or the creator of the world is unseen, but imagined as supreme goodness and supreme perfection, any individual on this earth who reflects even a glimpse of that perfection and that goodness is chosen by people as an object of worship. The world refers to that human being and as Bhagwan, Sant, Saint, Guru, Sufi, or a Sheikh. The world does this, I suppose, as it is difficult for us human beings to imagine creation, perfection, beauty, love, and goodness in the abstract. Most human beings seem to be darshnik by nature, believing only in what they are able to see. It seems to make worship and devotion easier for a devotee to have an idol, a tableau, a face before them when they worship and when they adore uh, uh, adore an energy which is superior to them. Therefore, zikr or repetition of the various names of the Rangreza, which is just another name for the beloved creator of the world, is yet another way to concentrate on meditating upon the mysteries of life, the mysterious ways of life. The plea of the devotee to the adored one is Rangreza, Rang mera tan, Rangreza, Rang mera tan, mera man. Le rangai chahe tan chahe man. How beautiful that is. So here the devotee is saying, you Rangreza, my beloved, dye my body, dye my heart and my soul, and for dyeing me in your color of love, beauty, and perfection, take from me in return my body and my soul. After having made this ultimate offering of the self, the devotee returns to zikr, repeating the same thought. Kun, fire kun, fire kun, fire kun. And you can say this till you are breathless if you like. The poet continues, जब कहीं पे कुछ भी ना था, जब कहीं पे कुछ भी ना था, even when there was nothing anywhere, even before there was me, before there was you, before there was the mountain, the river, and all the beauty witnessed in the world, there was always that. Wahi tha, there was that. Wahi tha, wahi tha, wahi tha. There was that, there was that, there was that. हो मुझ पे करम सरकार तेरा, हो मुझ पे करम सरकार तेरा, अरज तुझे कर दे मुझे मुझसे ही रिहा. So beautiful. Have pity on me, says the devotee. Have pity on me, Sarkar, beloved Lord, the exalted one. Have pity on me, I plead with you to release me from the prison. From the prison. This is so beautiful. I plead with you to release me from the prison of myself by making me one with yourself. अब मुझको भी हो दीदार मेरा, अब मुझको भी हो दीदार मेरा, कर दे मुझे मुझसे ही रिहा, मुझसे ही रिहा. So it's high time that I faced myself. Allow me to at least meet myself. Release me from the prison of myself, from the prison of myself. So I think this was how most mystically inclined minds work, I think. It's my interpretation. And I hope I was able to give you a glimpse through these lines with the help of this beautiful song composed by A.R. Rahman, a little of what is usually on the mind of a person who looks at life in a mystical way, who is as interested in the mysterious side of life as much as the material. The mystic is not satiated with knowledge of just the physical world. His heart, his intuition, and his feelings tell him that on the other side of the physical, visible world must be a spiritual world, which he can sense sometimes, but not, he can feel it, but not see it. It is the desire of the mystic to meditate and to find out if it is possible, if it is at all possible, to experience and to behold the spiritual, unseen aspect of life as well. To find out more about what is still unknown in the world and to ponder over why and how the world was created and by whom. This desire, this suspicion of the mystic that there is more to life than what the naked eye is able to see is common to all spiritually inclined human beings anywhere in the world. What is different is the way this yearning of human beings, this thirst for more knowledge about love and life is expressed and experienced by different mystics in different parts of the earth, speaking a different language and practicing a different culture. So I have another line from Ismail Merathi. Merathi because Ismail was from Meerut. So Ismail Merathi says, "Tu hi zahir hai, tu hi zahir hai, tu hi batin hai." Zahir means obvious, visible, and batin means hidden and invisible. So tu hi zahir hai, tu hi batin hai, tu hi tu hai, to main kahan tak hoon? So here the poet is questioning if you are the seen one, you are seen, you, my beloved, are seen. You are seen in the beautiful world, through the beautiful world that you have created. We know you are there because the beautiful world is there. And because you have created this beautiful world, you must be there. So you are seen, you are also unseen as the creator of the beautiful world. If everyone is you, you are the seen and the unseen, and you are everywhere, then who am I? This is a question that troubles a lot of thinking minds. Since the topic of our discussion today is Sufism, the mystical dimension of Islam, I shall therefore talk now of mysticism only in that context. So far, I have talked of mysticism in general, in most cultures, not only in Islam. Sufism is probably eternal. It was surely always there. Sufism is perhaps as old as existence and was around even before Islam. Sufism is another name for the spiritual journey of human beings, while rituals are the physical aspect of religion. The miracle of life is that it seems to be suspended between two opposing energies like positive and negative, love and hate, man and woman, worldly and otherworldly, intellect and intuition, the seen and the unseen, the yin and the yang, and the list is endless. Like only one side of the sun is seen by us on earth, but there has to be an opposite side of the sun as well that we are unable to see. Now, does that mean that what we cannot see does not exist? This is food for thought. To maintain a balance between polar opposites in life like night and day, sugar and salt, agony and ecstasy, angel and devil, is perhaps the only purpose of life according to a mystic, including the Sufi. There is mention of the material and the spiritual aspects of life in every culture and in every society in the world. Since Sufism is the mystical aspect of Islam, let's try to find out more about this dimension of Islam here. Let's do that by going back a little in time. Once Islam had blossomed into an organized religion in the 7th century, Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, tried to create a balance in his life between riches and poverty, love and hate, slave and master, man and woman, arrogance and humility, material and spirituality. However, soon after the death of Muhammad, who had tried to practice every bit of what he had preached in his lifetime, the worldly became disproportionately more important than the spiritual aspect of the life of Muslims. The first Muslims to rebel against the way the leadership of the community was practicing Islam after the death of Muhammad were called Sufis. Perhaps because these human beings did not care for satin and silk and dressed in simple robes woven of rough suf or wool. Perhaps the name derives from Sophia, the Greek word for wisdom, or from Safa, the Arabic word for pure and clean. Sufism is translated as tasawwuf, the spiritual path followed by Sufis to arrive at truth. Many see Muhammad as a Sufi because he had struggled throughout his life to balance the material world with the spiritual. Any human being who consciously tries to practice doing that, creating a balance in their personal life, and tries to create a balance between the positives and the negatives in life, is mystically inclined. Such human beings have walked the earth way before the word Sufi was coined. That is for sure. What is not sure is the origin of the word Sufi. What can be said with certainty is that a Sufi will seldom call himself by that name. It is others who have given the name Sufi to those who seem to be spiritually inclined. The tradition amongst mystics is to spend their entire life trying to consciously find peace, between forces of influence that work in opposite ways in life. What is most important to a Sufi is a spiritual journey inwards compared to just performing rituals in the outer world. The Sufi keeps his body clean and he loves his outer world, but to reach the heights of Insan-e Kamil or perfect human being, he goes inwards as well to seek within. So the outer world and the inner world must run parallel to create a balance in life of every human being. Let us go back in time to some 1,500 years ago. Imagine the world in which Muhammad was born and to the birth of Islam. Persia is to the east of Mecca, the place of birth of Muhammad in the heart of the Arabian Peninsula. Persia was splendid with plenty of palaces and plenty to eat and to wear. To the north of Mecca was the glittering world of the Greeks and the Romans. In between the monarchic lands of plenty of the superpower states of that time, there was utter poverty and deprivation in the heartland. In the oasis city of Medina, Muhammad had built a mosque and a humble house beside it where he lived till his death. Here he sat with the poor on the ground to share meals, making no difference between leader and follower, and master and slave. Muhammad believed that every creature is equal, equally precious in the eyes of the creator of the world. It is us, human beings, who may differentiate between superior human beings and inferior human beings, between the touchable human being and the untouchable human being. Those who succeeded Muhammad were unable to practice the simplicity of his way of thinking. Equality amongst human beings was no longer practiced, wealth was no longer distributed fairly amongst all, and the core values of social justice were abused. Islam adopted the ways of the monarchy. The mud homes of Muslim rulers gave way to palaces soon after the death of Muhammad. The humiliation of the working class resumed, and the wealth of the nation was used not to feed people, not to clothe people, not to house ordinary people, but to pamper the prince. Abu Dhar. Abu Dhar was one of the closest companions of Muhammad. He was perhaps the fourth human being to become a Muslim and to accept Muhammad as his leader. Abu Dhar witnessed the tearing apart of the economic and political unity of Islam. Abu Dhar believed Islam to be the refuge of the helpless, the oppressed, and the humiliated. But after the death of Muhammad, Muslim armies fought to preserve the interest only of the wealthy and the elite. Abu Dhar, watching them, had cried, "This capital, wealth, gold, and silver, which you have hoarded, must be equally divided among all." But none of who were in power paid any heed to him. Muhammad's mass movement of social justice was used for territorial expansion and for military exploits, to the dismay of a handful of Muhammad's companions like Salman Farsi, Bilal the slave, and Abu Dhar. These political rebels continued to live the life of a fakir, and who said to the powerful rulers, "If you are building this palace with your own money, then this is extravagance. And if you are building your palace with the money of the people, it is treason. You have made the poor poor and the wealthy wealthy." Those in power treated the rebels like madmen, but the fakir, the Sufi, were adored by the large majority of poor people who were impressed by their kindness and extreme generosity. Salam alaikum, or peace be upon you, was used by Muslims only after Abu Dhar had greeted Muhammad with the same words for the first time in Islamic history. Abu Dhar eventually died a lonely man in the desert. After having organized Medina as the first Muslim state full of justice, Muhammad died, but Muslim armies galloped out of the belly of the Arabian Peninsula to conquer different parts of the world that were more fertile than the desert. Damascus was an important city of Muslims. It was rich and thickly populated. When an Arab gentleman called Abu Ishaq Shami fled the dirty politics of the day for the quieter environment of central Afghanistan. Near Herat is Chisht, a picturesque village in the mountains along the river Herat, where Shami settled down in the 10th century, surrounded by his friends. The peace and quiet of Chisht allowed Shami to meditate upon what really matters in life and what does not, to sift away the important from the unimportant in life. The principles followed by Shami in Chisht during his lifetime were emulated by all those who got to know him, and the way of life practiced in Chisht eventually came to be known as the Chishti Silsila or the Chishti school of thought. And the followers of the Chishti Silsila are to this day known as the Chishtis. The Chishtis enjoy a large following in South Asia because of their practice of extreme love, kindness, and generosity. In North India, the Chishti Silsila is the most popular amongst the poorest of the poor, perhaps even more popular than the other three Sufi orders called the Qadiri, Sohrawardi, and the Naqshbandi. About 2 centuries after the death of Shami, the Chishti had attracted many people in the Central Asian region, many of whom came looking for refuge in South Asia from military attacks by Mongol warriors. Now, this is a very important period in the history of Islam. In the 12th century, Genghis Khan had stitched together an army of Mongol warriors up in the mountains who thundered out of their landlocked home in East Asia, sandwiched between Russia and China, in search of affluence and to get closer to the wealthy route of the very affluent Great Silk Road. The repeated and brutal attacks by the Mongols made life very difficult for ordinary people who fled the wrath of the warriors in different directions. This is when the doors of the Khanqa or the premises of the Sufi were thrown open and used as a shelter for an endless crowd of displaced poor refugees. The family of Moinuddin Chishti from the Persian land of Sistan, part of the greater Khorasan area, was also fleeing the Mongols. Educated in Samarkand and Bukhara, Moinuddin chose to spend the rest of his life as a wandering fakir, perhaps to figure out why this beautiful world of ours is behaving so badly. He was the disciple of Usman Harwani, head of the Chishtiya Silsila in the 12th century. Moinuddin had learned everything that he knew about life from his guru Harwani. It was impossible now to live and to work in Persia, a land that had become a battlefield of numerous wars and was shrouded in total chaos. From Sistan, Moinuddin crossed the mountain into South Asia. He went to Multan, Lahore, and crossed the Punjab to arrive in Delhi before proceeding to make a home in Ajmer. Moinuddin may have chosen to make Ajmer his home, but before he did that, he spent time in Lahore to meditate at the shrine of Ali Hujviri. The Persian mystic had made a home in Lahore in the 11th century and is revered to this day as Datta Ganj Baksh, meaning someone who's a treasure house of blessings. Hujviri was also a scholar and wrote Kashf al-Mahjub, revealing hidden secrets. That is the meaning of the title of Hujviri's book, which is a formal text on Sufism that continues to guide contemporary Sufis. Moinuddin was already 50 years old and lived in South Asia for almost another 5 decades among people he did not know, who spoke a language that he did not at first. He did not understand the language that was spoken around him at first, and also lived amongst people who practiced such a different religion. So what was it that made Moinuddin feel so at home in a foreign land among strangers? It was his friendly nature. It was friendship that mattered more to him, and his love for all human beings, irrespective of who the person was and what he may have owned in the world, that made Moinuddin feel at home wherever he lived on this planet. To make himself feel at home in life, Moinuddin did just one thing. He made friends with other human beings. He helped those in need and practiced being as kind and generous as he possibly could. His principle in life was simple. He loved and he respected others, and in return, he was loved back and he was respected as much as he respected others. That is what made him feel at home, so far away from his own place of birth. After his death in 1238, he was buried where he had lived, and today his home is a shrine that continues to attract a large crowd of devotees. That is because during his lifetime, Moinuddin did not just talk about love, but he practiced love, which is also the central philosophy of the Chishti Silsila. Moinuddin introduced the Chishti way of life in South Asia, and he practiced love, kindness, and generosity so long as he was alive, inspiring his devotees to do the same. So there are some practices of the Chishti which also keep changing, have changed over centuries. One of the practices that is essential to the Chishti Gharana is absolute distance from power politics. If a ruler becomes a devotee, the ruling is that you treat the ruler like you treat other devotees. So just because you're rich and powerful, the Chishtis would invariably not treat you differently. Moinuddin Chishti said, never seek any help, charity, or favors. Never waste time pleasing people in power. Never refuse to help those in need. Help the poor, the widow, the orphan, and children. Impressed by the use of music and poetry by Bhakti poets of South Asia and the region's wandering fakirs who sang songs of peace, love, and unity amongst mankind. As they strummed on a one-stringed instrument, gathering large crowds around them. Moinuddin too wrote poetry. He kept an open house and hosted musical moments where the first seeds of the Sama were laid. And the Sama is Sama means Sama literally, let me see, Sama means creating an atmosphere, creating an ambiance. And in Sufi vocabulary, a Sama can be literally translated as a musical evening. And the Qawwali style of singing was practiced at the Sama hosted by Moinuddin in praise of the beloved by repeating to the tune of music the various names of the creator of the world. Zikr is an exercise that helps the ego to forget itself and to drown and to submerge in the single thought of only the beloved. The Chishtis do not follow unreasonable do's and don'ts, making it easy for anyone to be in the midst of a Chishtiya. All human beings are always welcome to this day at all Chishti Sufi shrines spread all over the Indian subcontinent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Meru ma'am, for this very enlightening lecture. I think that all of us, and I believe that I speak for all of us, that we had been for this past hour transported to Middle Ages when the Sufi thought all began. And I especially enjoyed the way you broke down the popular songs that we hear, like Kun Faya Faya Kun, and gave us the hidden meaning behind that. So thank you very much. I'm sure Thank you, ma'am. I'm sure students have a lot of questions, but before we go to the Q&A round, I request everybody to please switch on their cameras for a group photograph. I'll give you 2 minutes. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm clicking the picture now. We'll be floating the link to the feedback form, so please ensure that you fill that before you leave the session. And now I'd like to go to the Q&A round. Like I mentioned, you can use the raise hand feature to ask your question directly to Meru ma'am, or you can put those in the chat box and I can take them up from there. All right. So to get the ball rolling, maybe ma'am, I'll ask a question because I really have a few questions. May I, ma'am?
Yeah, there's somebody's one piece of, okay, that's yours. But before that, there was a question which has disappeared from the screen.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so I'll take that up first.
Yeah.
So Mahalakshmi asks, Mahalakshmi thanks you for the lecture, and she asks, ma'am, my question is, why did the Sufi poets use female transgressive voice in their poems?
What voice?
Female transgressive voice in their poems.
Yes, because there's a school of thought where the ultimate beloved is God, right? Just to make life easy, we'll use the word God, but he can be Bhagwan, Allah, you can call him anything. So the beloved, the Mashuk is God, the creator of the world, and the Ashik is the human being, the devotee. So the relationship between the one who is loved and the one who loves is not symbolic, is like the relationship between a man and a woman, because that is the greatest attraction in life. You see, the negative and positive, man, woman, because when a man and a woman are attracted to each other, a third force is born by way of children, and that is what makes the world go round, right? So in Sufi symbolism, God is the man. And also because, we live in patriarchal society, so God, the creator, is man, and the one who loves God is the woman. And that is why the lover is always, sometimes, not always, sometimes uses the female gender to address the beloved, who is male.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm sure Mahalakshmi, yes, she thanks you for the reply. I'll go to the next question. And Anmol asks, how has time influenced Sufism? She has 2 questions, so this is part 1 of that question.
Yeah, there are many changes. I'm sure Moinuddin Chishti, Nizamuddin Aulia would not recognize the way we practice Sufism. So, so I don't know whether it's good or bad, but it is. It is the way it is, And what I find positive is because of our technology, because of travel has become so much easier, you find Sufis in different parts of the world, and you can it's traveled, it's not confined just to Nizamuddin Basti or to Ajmer Sharif, so that is the positive part. So I think over time, the meaning of Sufism, not the core meaning of mysticism, but how to meditate, how to get all the questions in your head answered. The way is changed.
And ma'am, the second part of a question is that why did the Sufis become the target of the Orthodox during their time?
Yes, because they were doing something very blasphemous, according to, they were in trouble with the rulers because they were very critical of the selfishness and the arrogance and the egos of the people in power, because they refused to share the wealth with the poor people. So they were always in trouble with the kings, the rulers, and they were in trouble with the clergy, because they dared to say that God, they dared to look upon God as a lover, which means they were looking at the creator of the world to unite with the creator of the world. And according to Islam, God is so superior that he can never become one with the human being, which the Sufis don't believe. The Sufis believe with proper meditation, with like the Buddha, who said that it is possible not to have multiple rebirths to unite with God or to be born a better human being, but it is with dhyan, with meditation, with struggle, you can realize God in this world, in this life, because we don't know whether there's another life or not. So that made clergy very angry, because they said, you're just an ordinary human being. How dare you want to have this intimacy with a superior being who's created the whole world?
Thank you, ma'am. I'm sure Anmol got her answer. I'm moving on to the next question. And Ramandeep wants to know that what is the role that the women played in the Sufi cult?
See, the women have always suffered in society. Wherever the woman is born, whenever the woman is born in a patriarchal society, there has been problems. But I believe in certain matriarchal societies, or the rules and regulations, the social rules and regulations amongst the Adivasis and some African communities, where there is more equality between men and women than in patriarchal society. So every time you have the king is a man, then he makes the rules that all society have to follow. So you have Sufis like Mirabai, you have Sufis like, what was her name, from Basra, she was called Al-Basri. I forget her first name. So you do have women. Sorry?
Rabia.
Rabia, G. Thank you, Minnie. Rabia al-Basri is considered the first female Muslim mystic, And of course, people, as it is, they think even the men are jununi and mad, So of course, but I think when a person reaches a certain stage, then even society lets them be. So Rabia was allowed to recite her poetry, to live the way she wanted to, and so was Mirabai. And there are some names, but the names of female mystics is far less than the male Sufis. Like Joan of Arc is also considered a mystic, you know. Yeah.
Oh, never heard of that. That is very interesting, ma'am. That Joan of
Yes.
Arc
So
was
if
also
you,
followed.
yes, if you, there are certain women in Christianity. If you read up on Joan of Arc, you will get to know why she's considered a mystical figure in history. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. So Tanisha has raised her hand. So Tanisha,
Ji.
you can ask your question directly to ma'am. Over to you.
Yes. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
My question to you is that it is said that many Sufi orders trace their lineages to Imam Ali. If this is the case, then why do we rarely find any meditation or breathing techniques in Shia traditions similar to what we find with the followers of Sufism?
I think I would beg to differ with you a little bit. I think there are more Shias who are mystically inclined than Sunni. So you have Nizamuddin Aulia, who was born in a Sunni family. Moinuddin Chishti was a Sunni, but because of their devotion to Hazrat Ali, they were followers of Ali. You know, so in fact, the Saudi version of Islam, Wahhabism, looks down upon the visits to Sufi shrines because it's considered idol worship. And I suspect that the practice of Sufism is influenced a lot by Hinduism, where idol worship simply means that you respect everything that exists in this world, whether it's a stone or a tree or whatever, you know. So, I don't know if I answer Tanisha's question, but Ali became it's very political why Ali is a role model for Sufis, because he was almost the first rebel, like a companion of Abu Dhar, who rebelled against the injustices that had creeped into Islamic society after the death of Muhammad the Prophet. And so he took refuge in Iran, and because the Arabs and the Iranians are ethnically two different societies. The Arabs are Semitic ethnically and the Iranians are Aryan ethnically. So there was that ethnic rivalry already from pre-Islamic times. And when Ali took refuge in Persia, married a Persian princess, then the Iranian version of Islam is the Islam of the rebels and the dissidents.
Right. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, it's complicated, but it's very interesting. It's very interesting.
Thank you, Tanisha. So in the interest of time, I'll be clubbing the questions that we're getting into one question, ma'am, and this would be the last question. So a lot of students are asking, what is the relationship that Sufism shared with the mainstream religions at that period of time? So did people belonging to one religious community practice Sufism simultaneously, or was it a different, those who adopted Sufism adopted it completely?
I could give you an example closer to your home of Akbar the Great, who was a very powerful ruler. He was a very courageous warrior, but he was also a Sufi, you know. So and that is a very admirable quality to have. But most people in power tend to concentrate only on the outer shan and shaukat of life, you know. They tend to concentrate only on physical power, and maybe life is too short for them to also balance the worldly power they have gained with spiritual power. So you don't necessarily have to be either or. I mean, the ideal president, prime minister is one who is both a mystical person in power, a poet president. A poet president is the ultimate dream of a society to have. Because if you're a poet, by per se, we think you will have a softer heart, you will be more kind to society, you know. That is the hope.
And ma'am, if you could end on this question, that how does Sufism advise us to balance our worldly life with concentrating on God? Can both the lives?
Yeah. So I think there is no, there are rules and regulations in every religion, in every Sufi text, you know. But I have a feeling you will benefit more if you, for yourself, train yourself to be interested in both the material world and the spiritual, and then you find solutions for yourself instead of maybe a guru, a guide can hold your hand for a while on the right path, but ultimately you have to find the answers to what you're seeking yourself. So I would, that's why, you know, I can recommend books, I can recommend films, I can do all that. But in the end, it is you. You know, you have to have the calling come to you from the bottom of your heart. Is that too vague or?
No, ma'am. Actually, Sufism is one such thought that takes you somewhere else, and I think this is a very good point that we can end on. That we need to find answers ourselves and not wait for somebody else to hold our
But
answer.
you, Chandni, you also have to beware that Sufism doesn't sweep you away to some other world. You have to, this is the balance you have to create. You have to be a good human being with a very large, open, kind heart, and also be a first-class student with a very flourishing career. So you have to be professionally brilliant, and you have to be aspire to be you know, the best human being that can be in this world. You know, you have to do it. You can't say that to get a promotion I have to do these dirty things. You know, you have to be very straight, you have to be very kind even in the darkest moment of your life, and that is the balance. That is why you can't have a rule for everyone. You know, it depends on your personal experience. You will be tested when you are in your worst moment, you know, and that is when you have to stand up for yourself, not to impress the world. So it's a balance. Don't allow Sufism to become mumbo jumbo for you and to sweep you off your feet into an unrealistic world. That is not the purpose. The purpose is to balance this world and that world in a very joyous way, not in a torturous way. We have to stop living in this ugly way we've organized our world.
So, ma'am, I conclude on the fact that all of us need to find our own balance in the end.
Your teachers will help you, your books will help you, but in the end, you are alone. You have to walk that path, the right path, which in the Quran says, Siratul Lazina, you know, you have to always stay on the right path. And that sometimes, you know, your friend, your teacher will turn back and go to their right path. But you must know and you stay on what you think is your right path. So
thank you so much. Yes, ma'am, it does. It's very enlightening and
but it's also very joyous. It's not so difficult. We think it's very difficult to be good. It's not. It's a very joyous experience. Try it. Try it. And that is why I love talking to younger people, because the older people are now set in their ways, and they refuse to change. But our only hope are the students and the youth.
Yes, ma'am. And I can see, ma'am, that there are a lot of comments coming in. Manpreet ma'am is from our sister college in DAV Sector 10, and Manpreet ma'am says that she practices, sorry for that,
Yeah.
That she practices Buddhism, and that there are connections that she can draw between the worlds of Buddhism and Sufism after this lecture.
Exactly. There is all mystically minded human beings are connected. You don't have to be part of an organized religion. I don't have to be a Mussalman to be a Sufi. Everyone who is spiritually inclined is a soulmate. They connect immediately, whether you're African, American, Indian, whatever. So I completely agree with the Buddhist in our midst.
Thank you, ma'am.
Buddha. I love the Buddha as much as I love Moinuddin Chishti.
And I think we can, that's an excellent way for us to conclude this session, that we can say that one, all of us need to find our own balance, and two, that there is a unity in all the communities that exist.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. The differences are exaggerated by political opportunists. But in fact, unity is what comes more naturally to human beings. At the moment, we are putting aside what is natural to us and imposing upon ourselves something which is unnatural. So keep that in mind.
Thank you, ma'am. And now I'd like to invite our professor, Ms. Baljeet Kaur Tiwana, senior faculty member, to please give the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Shandini. Ma'am, on behalf of the principal, Dr. Nisha Bhargav, staff and students of Meherchand Mahajan DAV College, I would like to express my gratitude to Ms. Mehru Jafar, a renowned journalist and author, for her excellent talk on Sufism and its mystical dimensions. Ma'am, it was indeed a pleasure to have you with us and to share your insightful observations on this very interesting and profound topic. We are grateful to you for having spared your valuable time, and we look forward to many more such enriching and learning interactions with you. Thank you so much, ma'am. I would also like to extend my thanks and gratitude to our principal, Dr. Nisha Bhargav, without whose vision and support this event would not have been possible. A special thanks to Mr. Ashish Mudgil, the faculty members, and last but not least,
Ashish was brilliant.
Students. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Baljeet ma'am. And before we sign off and conclude the event, I would like to show our dear audience that ma'am's, like Mini ma'am mentioned, that ma'am's authored some excellent books on Sufism, and I had the greatest opportunity of reading both of them. One is on Nijamuddin Aulia, the other is on Moinuddin Chishti. We also have one on Prophet, we have on Lucknow, and faculty members and students have already been reading. So this is especially for MCM students, that now these books will also be available in the library. So you can issue them in the library, or you can also order them online or buy them in the nearest bookstores near you. So please do read these books. Very, very enlightening to read, just like ma'am's lecture that we have today. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. I hope that you enjoyed the session and that you filled the feedback form. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, dear audience, for joining us today. And thank you so much, Mehru ma'am, for accepting an invitation and giving us this very enlightening talk.
Thank you.